Hey everybody, welcome to Leadership of Awesome. Leadership of Awesome is an amazing community of growth-minded, people-focused leaders just like you who are here to get to the next level. I'm your host Dan, and today we're going to be talking about making tough decisions. Let's get into it. So, making tough decisions. It's one of the hardest things to get a handle on as a leader. Today I got a few tips for you. I just want to discuss it and share some stories. So the first thing I think we need to cover is that when you've got tough decisions in front of you, the number one thing you can't do is avoid it. Now, it's easy to avoid it. We're human, we like to be liked, and sometimes our decisions that we have to make, the really tough ones, are the ones where we have to maybe upset people or maybe potentially put people offside. But in some of those situations, you just can't avoid it. The longer it goes on and the longer it gets avoided, the more your team suffers. Because your team are impacted. The reason why the decision is here is because something might not be working properly. So to really look after your team well, to really help them succeed and get to the next level, these tough decisions have to be made. So the second thing I wanted to talk to you about is saying no. Saying no to people doesn't mean that you're just going around saying no, 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 like a grumpy old man like I am sometimes. But saying no is really about looking after something for the team. So there might be a situation where you're going to go in a direction that you don't think is going to mean success for the team. There's lots of opportunities that may present themselves that you have to say no to. You have to be able to assess those things and decide, is it something that's going to get us to the goal? If it's not, then I have to say no. So something that links in to saying no is about transparency. You can say no in a way that supports people, that encourages feedback, that encourages these ideas to come forward from the team. But when you say no, being transparent about what's behind the process, what's behind the decision-making process, is something that can be used to help people understand what's going on in your head. Using transparency is a really great way to do that. If people understand what went through the mind, what kind of data you used, how you came to the decision, what you're trading off, all of those things help people understand the reasoning why and the background behind things so that they can buy in. Something that links in with transparency is being okay with making the wrong decision, potentially the wrong decision. Now, we all hope that our decisions are going to be right, and that's awesome, wonderful, optimism. But sometimes we're going to make the wrong decision. Now, the best way to approach these tough decisions that could go in the wrong direction is to be willing and open, be able to cope with making the wrong choice. And when you make the wrong choice, the transparency thing really comes into play there. Because if you can bring that to the team and say, look, I can be transparent as a leader, I made the wrong choice, I made the wrong decision, let's figure it out. Let's figure it out together. Let's figure it out where we go next. And as a leader, you're helping to facilitate and guide the discussion into the next tough decision to make. Something that I try to figure through and try to put into play when I'm making tough decisions is to leave an opening to be able to change direction. Because you don't always have all of the information you need to make the right decision at certain points in time, but sometimes you need to make a decision to move forward. So if you make a decision to move forward, hopefully you can structure it so that you have some opportunity to come back or to adjust as new information comes in. So making tough decisions, something that's really important to cover is boundaries. To get us up to speed on that, we're now going to ask Julia all about it. Check it out.
Sometimes we don't want to make a tough decision, or we're procrastinating on that tough decision because we're concerned about the fallout that's going to happen in our team with our team members, and we're worried that it's going to lead to demotivating behaviour or negativity, or that a person who's affected by the decision might influence the rest of the team with a bad reaction. When we're thinking about what's our responsibility here, and think about our personal boundaries. Imagine a circle is around you. Everything inside that circle is your responsibility as an individual. So all your thoughts and feelings and reactions and attitudes, that all belongs to you. So if it's not inside your circle, it's not yours to pick up and try and take over. But when you're a team leader, there's a second level to responsibility, and that is that you have the authority over the whole team. And it's part of your job to make those hard decisions and think about how each of those individuals in their circles are working together in a big team and being productive and awesome and delivering what they need to do. So you need to make that hard decision And in terms of the reactions from the other person, well, that's inside their circle. So their reactions belong to them. But what does belong to you is the responsibility to get alongside them and help coach them through those emotions and help them learn better ways of dealing with their reactions. But ultimately, it is on them to decide whether they're going to get with the program and make the team awesome.
Now, ultimately, you're watching or listening to Leadership of Awesome, which means you're most likely a people-focused leader. Now, that means that we take a lot of care and effort and energy in investing into our people. We are really passionate about growing them. We want to see them succeed. We want like a win-win for the team, for the individual, for the company. Sometimes when we're faced with really tough decisions, sometimes the reason why it's a tough decision is because it impacts people. Now, for us as people, and we're investing in people and we're always trying to grow people, that can be really difficult to handle, to come to terms with and get used to. Some of this comes with practice. It gets easier and easier as you do it more and more. Now, the thing is, in those situations where conflict is happening and someone, you might have hired the wrong person and they don't fit in the team, in that kind of situation, the thing is that person is miserable as well as the team, as well as you. Now, that whole scenario is not like a win-win situation, right? So when you're going into that situation, you are there to get a win-win for everyone. Now, a win for the new person that you hired may not be to stay in the team or to stay in the company, and that's okay. There are ways that you can handle these kind of situations and make them easier on people and make the transition easier. So let me tell you a bit of a story. So one time I was leading a team that, in a team you have specific roles that need to be fulfilled. And to have the team to be a high-performing team, everybody in that team needs to fulfill their duty. So we had a person in the team who their passion was really for a different type of role. And they were an awesome person to work with. A lot of people loved working with them, but they didn't quite fit into this role that needed to be fulfilled by the team. So in looking at that, the direction where things were going was to move into a performance management type situation. And in this situation as a leader, I was thinking there's an opportunity here to do it in a more human way. So I sat down with this person and said, look, we need you to fulfill this role in the team. It's a very important role. The team is hurting because this role is not fully being fulfilled. And I shared empathy with him to say, I understand that it's not your passion. It's not the actual role you want to be doing. So to help solve the problem, I kind of led him through the different scenarios. One was to go down the performance management plan, which was going to be a stressful situation for him and wasn't going to be an enjoyable experience, particularly because, his heart really wanted to be in this other role. The other alternative I offered him was to help him find the alternative role. And that meant that I could support him. I could give him an amazing reference, particularly he was great to work with. A lot of people loved working with him. So I could give him a great reference based on that. I could help him to have some time off to go to interviews and things like that. And that turned into something really successful. It meant that the team could function as it needed to. We could bring in someone else into the role who was really passionate about that role that needed to be filled, and he could go and achieve his passions and achieve his career goals outside of the company. Okay, that's a wrap. So we've covered how to make really tough decisions. Now we've talked about all sorts of things. I think the big highlights were around doing something in a people-focused way, a way that really supports and grows and encourages people. At the same time, though, we don't shy away from those tough decisions. We are able to say no to people. We are able to make tough decisions that impact people, but we're there to do it with support of people at the same time. So if you'd like to send us a comment or a question, you can do so below, or you can send us an email to podcast@leadershipofawesome.com. Keep being awesome, and I'll catch you next time.